every craftsman ought to be permitted to seek after their imaginative undertaking on. Today is coonery and horseplay, and I know is raking in tons of cash-breaking records since I thought that Tyler Perry would be cheerful and energized for me. I'm another individual of color. We both were from a similar area. I simply didn't feel that like I'm a punch the damnation out of you. Say something different. That is my response to Spike Lee. Take a hike. Go. I will punch the damnation out of you. Condemning of dark film and the creation worth of a few dark creations, since you have confidence in cliché. Debasement of individuals of color, individuals, however, minorities, ladies, local Americans, Hispanics, and all the harm that has been finished. Consistently, another show disentangles in the realm of Hollywood. Have you gotten up to speed with every one of the racial debates you could have missed? One of the greatest news standing out as truly newsworthy. However, relax, we take care of you with all the succulent news from the Hollywood town. Spike Lee has worked up a disturbance among watchers. What drove Spike Lee to give out areas of strength for such about Tyler Perry? We have all you really want to be aware of the best discussion of racial portrayal. 2 unmistakable depictions. Spike Lee was viewed as charging and uncovering Tyler Perry for a cliché negative depiction of the African American population on the Hollywood screen. Spike Lee guaranteed that Tyler Perry had a plan to feature the African American population with negative portrayal in Hollywood. What prompted such serious allegations? We should figure it out. This multitude of pictures come from my office in Brooklyn. Thus I like to encircle myself with craftsmanship in the workplace and in home. Shelton Jackson, broadly known as Spike Lee, isn't simply a producer or an entertainer. He's an individual who has over and over offered incredible expressions with respect to questionable issues and racial inconsistencies. Through his work, he is known to leave an effect through serious areas of strength for him of delicate points that others could sneak around. He doesn't avoid becoming involved with contentions, whether through his work or articulations. This time, he additionally hauled Tyler Perry into one of his investigates and asserted that his personality of Medea just hurt the dark portrayal on the big screen. That is a major allegation. Tyler Perry is a flexible craftsman. He's an entertainer, a movie producer, and a writer. Most likely around 75,000 additional meetings between here in Miami and Atlanta. Furthermore, we've been in 8 urban areas. Furthermore, he has acquired achievement and notoriety through a few of his work, the most notable being his personality of Medea. The person may be what he's generally known for, however it has drawn in much analysis from researchers. A few pundits accept that the personality of Medea is a pessimistic portrayal of African Americans. It has likewise been called hostile by certain pundits and watchers. Different pundits have offered numerous outrageous remarks about Tyler's job in harming the picture of African Americans in Hollywood. Who's Medea and for what reason did the person get such a lot of analysis and backfire? Tyler Perry's personality of Medea is that of a solid-headed, shrewd, older lady. I go by sloppy. I'm mud to the dam. You just get a first name since I have warrants. Much thanks to you so much. An interesting and road-savvy lady played by a man, Tyler Perry dressed as a lady. She has extraordinary comic timing and clever comments in her job. You may be thinking about what can be off with this funny person. Spike Lee communicates his conviction that entertainers from the African American population ought to utilize their foundation on the large Hollywood screen to make a more satisfactory and comprehensive picture of African Americans, instead of playing just the negative or interesting characters without any assertion of their own. They ought to assume significant and positive parts to re-establish the fastened picture of the African American population. African Americans are currently perceived as individuals with ability and art and are at last being given a role as majors with positive jobs. Spike Lee trusts it's the obligation of dark entertainers and producers to significantly impact the watcher's viewpoint of the African American population. Since a man assumed the part of Medea, a few crowds saw it and even Spike Lee as depreciating or debasing to genuine African American ladies. They accept that by acclaiming such characters, people of color were deprived of their masculinity and portrayed as feeble, manly figures wearing dresses and hairpieces. The generational dark generalization and order were just being set by characters like that of Medea, played and rejuvenated by an individual of color himself. Spike Lee considered men like Tyler Perry answerable for hauling marks and generalizations joined to dark delegates in Hollywood. Tyler Perry protected his personality by asserting that the personality of Medea resembled honoring the extraordinary, solid people of color in his life. He accepted that it was his approach to praising every one of the people of color who upheld him through his excursion and were the justification behind his prosperity. Regardless of these reasons, Spike Lee wasn't persuaded and remained relentless on his conviction during the continuous debate that Tyler Perry neglected to feature the African American population with an inspirational perspective and ought to be considered liable for harming their picture. It isn't simply Spike Lee who has offered such a comment. Another huge name, Charlemagne, a well-known American radio personality. No doubt. At the point when you was doing the hamburger, the meat mixtapes has had comparative assessments about bad dark depiction by Tyler Perry in his show, it appeared that Charlemagne steered the matter in a totally different course and ventured to blame Tyler Perry for a conscious way to deal with the negative portrayal to clear out his opposition, cause ladies impartial in people of color and make them to appear to be disconnected. This worked up additional contention regarding this situation, which proposed that main individuals of color decided on interesting jobs and those expecting them to take on the appearance of ladies, which recommended racial uniqueness and obvious debasing of dark specialists. Another dark craftsman who didn't step aerobics from expressing his perspective was Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, a craftsman and humorist, shared his experience of being approached to put on a dress for a short continuation, which he turned down since he thought that it is hostile. Generalizing people of color with gentility in dresses was seen as embarrassing and cheapening to a ton of craftsmen and crowds. Regardless of the immense analysis of Tyler's personality, he is accepted to be a triumph because of his strategic and shrewd methodologies. He is depicted as somebody who figured out, conveyed and sold his personality's work and craftsmanship. This was even more justification for Spike Lee to consider Tyler Perry liable for neglecting to make a superior picture of individuals of color on screen with his drawn-out approach and reach. In Hollywood, as you most likely are aware, with a more noticeable name, comes greater obligation. Tyler Perry doesn't just view Medea as a comic person, however, as a portrayal of the sort of profound, bright and energetic lady he had the honor to grow up around. He finds it embarrassing to his story and his motivations. At the point when individuals condemn him or his personality, he thinks of it as a pessimistic plan to cut down an individual of color's prosperity. Tyler Perry said, "For my purposes, I love the films that I've done in light of the fact that they are individuals I grew up with that I address. Like, my mom would take me in the tasks with her on the ends of the week. She'd play a card game with these ladies. The majority of them didn't have a 12th grade schooling, yet their accounts and the amount they cherished one another and how when they'd become miserable about something, one more would come in and make a joke. I'm 5 years of age with my Matchbox cards. I was in an expert